Hi guys, it's been a while since I've posted any Indian recipes, so recently I did this chicken vindail and it was so delicious. This is based on Rick Stein's recipe, but I did add in a bit more of my favourite flavours to make it a bit punchy. You can see there that the chicken is so tender and juicy, it just falls off the bone. With Indian recipes, or any recipe containing loads of ingredients, I think it's best to do all the prep first and get super organised. I'm starting by toasting up about a teaspoon of these fenugreek seeds. So just heat them for a minute or two over a really high heat without oil until they become really nice and aromatic. Then just take them off the heat and add them to a spice grinder if you have it. It's always best to grind your own spices if you can. They're so much better than anything you buy in a jar pre-ground. Now the recipe calls for some Kashmiri chilli powder. I've got these dried ones, and while they don't have a whole lot of heat, they do have really nice flavour and give the whole dish a really beautiful red colour. I'm going to add about 10 here. I'm grinding the chilies up with the fenugreek seeds because they're to be added to the dish at the same time, and it's just easier to group all the ingredients together that are to be added at the same time. Now to those spices I'm going to add a teaspoon of sea salt flakes and about half a teaspoon of powdered turmeric. Now set all these aside. Now bring back the spice grinder because you're going to want to grind up about a tablespoon of cumin seeds. You're grinding these separately because they're to be added at a slightly different time to the rest of the spices. Now just set that aside until later too. You'll also need some whole spices, like 1 star anise. I'm at the end of the packet, so I'm just going to use a few bits. You need 1 clove and a small stick of cinnamon. Now take 3 red onions, peel them and dice them up. In Indian cooking you should always use red onions unless otherwise stated. Then transfer them to a bowl and set them aside as well. Now take 500 grams of nice fresh red tomatoes, preferably on the vine. For me that was 5 tomatoes, and just slice them up so they're about a centimetre thick. Then set these aside until later too. Now take some garlic and separate it out into its cloves and peel them. It was about here that I decided to use 2 whole bulbs of garlic for this curry. I really love the taste of garlic, I love cooking with it, but I hate peeling it. And you really don't need to see me peeling it, so we're just going to jump ahead all this part. Once all the cloves are peeled, you need to chop it up really finely. You can do this with a knife if you're very skilled, or a microplane grater, but I'm using one of these garlic crushers because they make the whole thing so easy. You just need to load it up and squeeze out the puree, and simple. Then just set that aside as well. While you crack on with your chicken pieces, you'll need about 1 kilo of drumsticks and thighs, and you should get it with the bones in but the skin off. I couldn't find that, so I'm just going to peel them myself. When that's all done, it's finally time to start cooking. Do this by taking a large pot with a lid and heating it over a medium heat. Then add about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I'm using olive oil here. Once the oil gets really hot, go ahead and add the whole spices, starting with your cinnamon stick. Then add your clove. Then add the star anise. I'm adding 3 broken up pieces because I'm meant to be adding 1 whole star anise. After a quick stir, go ahead and add in your diced onion. Now cook for 10 to 15 minutes, stirring occasionally until they start to go nice and soft. Now add the cumin followed by the piles of crushed garlic. Now stir that up for another 2 minutes until it becomes really aromatic. Now go ahead and add the other ground spices, the chili powder, fenugreek, turmeric and sea salt flakes, and stir it up and fry for about 30 seconds. Then pile in all that sliced tomato. Then give it a really good stir so that all the tomato slices are nicely coated in the spicy mixture. Then let it cook for 5 minutes so that the tomatoes can start to break down. Before you pile in all those skinned chicken pieces. Stir them all up so that all the pieces are nicely slicked with that spicy mixture. And if the mix is a little bit too dry, go ahead and add a small splash of water. Before you clamp the lid on and allow this to cook for about 35 minutes. 35 minutes later, take off the lid, give everything a stir up again before you add about a tablespoon of white wine vinegar and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Then stir it all up well and let it cook for another 5 minutes without the lid. Then serve this at the table and let everyone just dig in themselves. This is so delicious on the first day, but actually the flavour only improves with the next day. That often happens with curries, but I found it especially true with this one. It was so good the second day. So be sure to make enough for leftovers. I just served this with some boiled white rice and it was so delicious. And tender as well. You can see there how tender and moist the chicken is. I could literally eat this with a spoon. Thanks a million for watching, guys. If you liked this recipe, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. You can check me out on social media if you like. You'll find all the links to my accounts in the description, as well as the link to my blog where you'll find this full recipe at www.rookiecook.org.